What if the universe isn't just described by numbers, but is actually built from them? Today, we're diving into a really fascinating theory that suggests reality itself has a numerical architecture, that numbers are the fundamental blueprint for, well, everything. The source material for this whole idea uses this incredible phrase, the quantum jazz of prime numbers. I mean, just think about that for a second. It perfectly captures what this is all about. It's a search for a hidden melody, a secret rhythm in what looks like the random static of prime numbers. It suggests the universe isn't just chaos, but something more like structured improvisation. And that really leads us to the big philosophical question behind all of this. Are numbers just tools we humans invented to count things? Or do they have their own inherent spirit, their own story to tell? This theory argues, yeah, they absolutely do. And if we can learn their hidden language, we might just be able to read the source code of reality itself. So the core idea here is that numbers aren't just these abstract concepts floating around in our heads. They form the actual framework of our physical world, of information itself. And listen, this isn't about numerology in the way you might think of it. This is way deeper. It's about trying to uncover a kind of mathematical physics that governs all of existence. Okay, so who's behind this? This whole line of thinking was really pioneered by a researcher named Peter Plichta, and then it was taken to the next level with some advanced algorithms by Zara Zeta. Their whole goal, working together, was to find that active organizing spirit inside the world of numbers. And to do that, they had to develop some pretty unique tools. Let's take a look at the instruments they actually used to try and decode these hidden patterns. The two main ones are something called the prime number cross and the modular compass. Each one is designed to reveal a totally different layer of this numerical architecture. First up, we've got Peter Plichta's prime number cross. So what it does is it organizes all numbers into a cycle of 24. And here is where it gets wild. They discovered that all prime numbers bigger than 5 land on only 8 specific rays of this cross. The other rays, the ones made up of multiples of 2 and 3, are what the theory calls the dark matter of the system. They're not empty. They form the structural grid that lets the primes pop into existence in the first place. So then, Zara Zeta expanded on this with the modular compass. You can almost think of it as a higher resolution version of the cross. Instead of just being points on a line, numbers become vectors moving through a 360-degree cycle. This lets you do a much deeper analysis of their energy, their resonance, as they move through different phases. This system is broken down into 4 energetic arms, and each one lines up with a classical element and a specific job. You've got the alpha arm, which is fire. That's the initial spark, the impulse. Then beta is air, bringing in structure and order. Gamma is water, which is all about transformation and flow. And finally, delta is earth, where things actually manifest and become real. You can map any number's journey through these 4 phases. Okay, so that's the theory and the tools. Now let's see them in action. We're going to focus on one key number in this whole investigation, 2501. This number is like a central pivot point, almost like a Rosetta Stone for understanding the entire system. Here it is, 2501. You know, at first glance, it doesn't really seem all that special, does it? But its mathematical properties, especially when you look at its relationship with symmetry, that's where things get extraordinary. Let me show you why. So 2051 has this really elegant connection to Fermat's famous 2-square theorem. You just take the number 50, you square it to get 2500, and you add 1. Boom, 2051. This simple structure, this x squared plus 1 format, is apparently a huge indicator of high numerical symmetry. It suggests it might be acting as a kind of 0 point, a fulcrum in a much bigger system. And this is where another discovery comes in. When they analyzed 2501 with that modular compass, a pattern started to emerge, a rhythm that repeated every 17 steps. Now, in this theory, the number 17 is a prime of transformation. It shows up right at the intersection of spiritual and material structures. So this 17-step rhythm is seen as the pulse of the spirit within the number 2501. But here's the real kicker. This isn't just a one-way street. When the researchers decided to analyze the negative value, negative 2501, they found the exact same 17-step rhythm, creating a perfect mirror image. This is huge because it suggests that 2501 is acting as a central stabilizer, sending out its influence equally into both the positive and negative sides of the numerical world. This whole discovery of positive and negative symmetry, it leads to an even bigger idea. that numbers can be grouped into systems that have their own distinct personalities. So let's explore that a bit by comparing two other really fascinating numbers. So what's the difference between a positive and a negative system? Well, on the left, you've got 24257, a positive system. It kind of expands forward in a really predictable way, like a smooth flowing river. It follows a constant mathematical rule. But on the right, 28757 is a negative system. It's defined by mirror images and self-reference. It doesn't really expand outward. It's constantly recalibrating inward, pointing back to some hidden anchor point. And here is where it gets absolutely mind-bending. When they analyzed that negative system, 28757, they found a direct link to the Fibonacci sequence. The difference between it and another key number is precisely 4181, which is the 19th Fibonacci number. Think about that. This suggests that these negative systems aren't empty or chaotic at all. They are structured by the exact same principles of organic growth that we see all over in nature. As you can probably tell, this whole investigation is far from over. The research is now turning to the next piece of this giant puzzle, the number 2867, which seems to be deeply connected to the other numbers we've just talked about. So what's the big deal with 2867? Well, there are a few really compelling ideas. It's thought to be a positive system, and it might be the positive counterbalance to that negative system, 28757. It also shares a prime factor, the number 61, with our original hero number, 2501, which hints at some kind of genetic link. And get this is just beautiful. If you take its two prime factors, 47 and 61, and just stick them next to each other, you get 4761, which is a perfect square. It's 69 squared. All of this brings us back to one final, really provocative question. This theory paints a picture of a universe with a profound hidden order, that quantum jazz of prime numbers. But is it real? Are we actually decoding a universal blueprint that's been there all along? Or are our brains just so good at finding patterns that we're simply finding what we set out to look for? It's a tough one. What do you think?